Okay, so we're going to have a look at the difference in the quality of the different graphic file types and the impact that compression has on the file types as well. So first thing we want to do, load a picture, try and get a decent high-res photo. It's going to be hard on the internet because they're all going to be optimized as JPEGs, and therefore they are going to have some kind of compression applied to them. But find a photo, make sure it has a reasonable amount of color in it, but the colours aren't just solid blocks of colour, so you do want a photograph for that. When you've got the photo loaded, go to File, Export, and Save for Web with Legacy. Click on that, and when you get into this, you'll probably be on the Optimize tab. Change it to the 4 up so you can see 4 different windows on this. And your default settings will be different to mine. Obviously, I've been using Photoshop for various other things, and I've done this tutorial. I'm not entirely sure how many. I'm not entirely sure how many times I've even done this now. So first thing we're going to do, let's compare the quality of JPEGs. So leave your original, which is this top left box. It will say original in it, and it will give you the size of the original picture. In the next box, change it to maximum. So click on the top right box and make sure that maximum is selected in this drop down. Quality should go to 100. And what we've got there, we've got the file type, which is JPEG. We've got the size of the file. So when we save it as a JPEG file, we'll have a file that is 230.4 kilobytes. And on a 56.6 kilobyte per second connection, so the old dial-up, it would take 43 seconds to load this picture. Now the reason I've got it as dial-up is because it's easier to see how long it would take to load an image. Broadband speeds that we've got at the moment, it wouldn't take that long to load. So it gives us more of a comparison by looking at over a slower download speed. Bottom left, change that one to high, which will give you 60. Or if you want to do something a bit more equal, set it to 50. Doesn't really matter too much. The last one, set it to low, which I'm just going to have to do a very quick change. Set it to low, and that'll give you a quality of 10. So let's look at these actual files and the quality of the pictures. If I find the right button, there we go, and zoom this in a little bit. So we've talked about pixelation, or you might have talked about pixelation, but pixelation is what happens with bitmap images when we save them, especially if we are using lossy compression. Lossy compression, sorry. Here's my original file, 1.17 meg, because it's set up in Photoshop to allow for editing. The colours are all fairly smooth. There's no massive blocky bits. It was saved as a JPEG before, so the quality's already been reduced a little bit. But yeah, quality's not too bad. It's not overly grainy. There's no massive blocks of the same colour. If we look at the maximum quality, which was 230.4 kilobyte file size and a 43 second download speed, it's not too bad. It's not too far off. There's some bits of it that might be a little bit more grainy than it was, where it's got rid of some of the colour to do the compression. But overall, doesn't look too bad. Looks pretty similar to the original. Let's have a look at our 50% quality. Again, there's not actually too much loss in this. We're starting to get some grain coming in around here, where we've got some pixels that are no longer as smooth as they are in the counterpoint versions. So we're starting to get blocks of colour coming in. We can see quite clearly across here, a very sharp line, which is less evident. It's still quite a sharp line, but it's less evident in this picture. This picture, at half quality, is 72.31 kilobytes in size and would only take 14 seconds on a really, really slow internet speed instead of 43. So we have reduced the speed of download. We've reduced how long it takes to download to almost a quarter, just less than a quarter almost, from the original. If we look at the 10 quality though, now we can really see the effect of that lossy compression. If you look around here, there's all sorts of little blocks of colour where the computer has looked at this section and gone, well, most of these are about the same colour. There's like a block of darker colour there, there's a bit of lighter colour there, and it's just put them into blocks. And you do get quite a lot of loss of quality. So this bit here, for example, there's quite a bit of detail in both of these. This bit just kind of looks like a solid blotch of colour. And that's the effect of lossy compression. It's gone, these ones are pretty much related, it's almost the same colour, we'll get rid of all this bit of information and make it all this colour. And that is how you end up with a file that is 23.4 kilobytes and would only take 5 seconds to download on a 56k connection. So that's a comparison of the JPEG file sizes. So what about the GIF? So let's change this to GIF, and we'll leave the first one at 256 colours. Change the next one to GIF, and on the drop down on this one, let's have 64 colours. And the final one, change to GIF, and let's have 16 colours. Now already you can see the difference. The GIF with the full amount of colours that are available in a GIF, the 256 colours, you can see the grains, you can see the pixels in there where it's gone, okay, well we can't display all of these, so we'll make this one this colour, this one this colour. Arguably, still nicer to look at than the lowest quality JPEG, because you still are actually getting the details in there. Because what it's not doing necessarily is comparing the colours to the ones around it and turning them into blocks of solid colours. You're getting the pixels creating the blend. If we look at 64 colours, now it's starting to get really icky to look at. We've got a lot more solid block colours coming into this than we've got with the fades, because it's only showing 64 colours. And the lowest one we've got on here, sorry, going back to our bottom left for a second. You know, we've not quite halved the size of the file. We've definitely not halved the download speed of it for that one. So 64 colours, 132.4 kilobytes, and 25 seconds to load. And the last one that we've got, where we've got 16 colours, we're looking at 16 seconds to load. We're looking at essentially 82 kilobytes per kilobyte file size. So the file size does decrease quite a bit with the GIF, but you have a absolutely massive lack or loss of quality. And if I zoom that out, it really does become a lot more apparent as you go down in the size there. So we can see. So how does this compare across the board? In fact, let's just do that zoom slightly more so we've got a little bit of maybe not quite that much of a better view. Let's go to maybe 200. So how does this compare across the different file types? So I'm going to put this one now to not a PNG8, a PNG24. PNG8 was one of the first iterations of PNG. It was where they were essentially making the step between the GIF and the PNG. And let's go to a JPEG and let's just turn the quality up. So we do want some compression on this. Let's have a 70 quality for that. So now what this doesn't do is take into one of the main qualities of a PNG24 file, which allows it to handle a gradiated transparency. But it does provide a certain amount of comparison. So let's have a quick look at these. You can straight away see the problem with the GIF. We've got the full colour palette, we've got pixels everywhere, we've got a 36-second download speed and a 206.8 kilobyte file size. The PNG file size, by comparison to the other two, is quite large, but it's not losing any data. It's keeping the exact same quality as the original file. So in terms of change for the original file, we've gone from 1.17 meg to 538 kilobytes with a 98-second download speed on a 56K modem. If we look at the JPEG file, there's not a massive loss of quality because we're still quite high up in that quality range. You will be starting to get some pixelation in there, some little blebs of colour, but because we're quite high up in that range, we're not losing too much detail at this point. We are keeping a lot of it. And if we were looking at doing a picture for the internet and we weren't looking for the quality for print, this would be perfect. This would be absolutely fine for that use. We're at 111.6 kilobytes and it would take 21 seconds to download. So in the case of this photo, 70% quality on a JPEG for putting on the internet would be absolutely fine. If we were going to print the photo, obviously allowing for the fact that the original already has a load of JPEG artifacts in it, as it was a JPEG image originally. If we were going to print this photo, we would go for the PNG. This photo wasn't taken on the best camera in the world. You can see that just by looking at the quality of it on the main screen. So it wasn't taken with the best quality camera in the world, but if I was going for print, I'll be going for the PNG because there is no data loss. This all blends just slightly better than that side. But for general use and use on the internet, you would go for the JPEG every time. The quality loss is minimal and it is a faster download speed across the board. So that is your comparison of the file sizes. One thing I will show you is just very quickly, I will change that into a layer, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to erase, when I find the eraser tool, there it is, with a nice large soft brush. I'm just going to erase part of this image. So I've got that checkerboard. That checkerboard means it's see-through, and I've got some nice semi-faded squares and some completely transparent squares. If I go back now into the Save for Web dialog and we put one of this back to the GIF, and we'll have that with 256 colours, and we put this one back to the PNG 24, and if we look at the checkerboard and where it crosses over, the original, there's your fade on that tree line. The PNG, there's your fade on the tree line. It's identical. With your GIF, you've got a very, very straight and definitive line coming across where it's changed to white, because a GIF is all or nothing transparency. It is either see-through or it's not. It doesn't have a partial transparency. JPEG doesn't support transparency, and you can see from that, even when I've got an entire block of checkerboard with some faded bits, because we can see the white on the GIF here, it is all white. So because JPEG doesn't support transparency, it fills in any transparent bits with white behind it, and you get the fade effect, but it will fade to white, not to see through and show a background colour behind it. So hopefully that will now explain a little bit more about what the actual features, functions, sizes and compression of the file types is on about.